Yo, what's up, Auburn family? We are back. The War Rapport, Mississippi State Week. It's time to get into this thing. If y'all ready, we ready, man. Let's go.
Boom. We're back. We are what's good, everybody? We are back for another college football season.
What have they done to earn anybody's respect?
I don't know if you've been watching football like the past few years and there was
Gus is a below average coach, only consistent at being inconsistent. That's it.
Fact over feelings every single show.
Fact over feelings.
Y'all already know what it is. The Facts Over Feelings crew, we back, man. War Rapport, Mississippi State Week. Before we get into all of this, man, let's make sure we get the preliminaries out of the way. If you haven't already, make sure you are clicking like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Also, we are on Twitter and Instagram as The War Rapport, TikTok, TW Rapport. Fellas, what's good?
Oh man, listen, we lost.
Yeah, that's a fact.
We lost.
That's a fact.
We covered it extensively. Last week, right? So I was on the. It was funny. My mom commented on
I saw
the
about having
Facebook
faith.
page, yeah, and I was like, "Listen, Mom, you got enough faith for all of us, I'm sure, right? We're not the faith broadcast. We're the facts broadcast, right? So." Love you, Mom, but yeah.
I gotta see what she posted.
Oh man, she said, "Boy, where's your faith?" She was like, "Boy, where's your faith?" And I think this was
We got
the Bama
faith.
game. This was the Bama game.
Tell Mama Giddens we have faith
All right,
for a new coach.
Yeah, right. What are we believing for? I think
Right.
the thing. She's believing for a win no matter what, which I appreciate. We need that positivity out in the universe. Certainly. That is not all of our callings. It's certainly not mine, right?
It's not our ministry here.
Right. Yeah. No sunshine pumping. None. Zero. Right. It's all overcast skies over here when it comes to the facts. So just want to put that out there. Love you, Mom.
So listen, we definitely appreciate her tuning in and having faith in some things, but it is what it is. You know, as I'm going through this week's games, I just realized Texas A&M's next game against Ole Miss got postponed. Did y'all see
Yes,
that?
it did.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
It did.
yeah.
Did you guys
So
also realize that Missouri is now in the top 25?
Yes, you're also
I've
correct.
been riding Missouri kind of heavy.
I missed that. I missed that. That's significant.
And I really wish I could have caught that Arkansas-Missouri game because it looked like it was exciting. 48-50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. A&M got postponed.
Yeah.
That's the
Is
end
it
of the season.
postponed or canceled?
It's got to be canceled.
It says postponed on the schedule, but I don't know when they're going to be able to make it up unless they're going to do it the same week as the SEC championship.
Which they might, just for the sake of saying we played those games, because the way it went was this weekend has to be the last regular season weekend for the SEC, because next weekend has to be the SEC championship game.
Well, neither one of those teams are going, so does it matter?
It doesn't, but do you want to have games on championship weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? If it's it could be an early morning game.
It could be an early morning game, yeah.
Just play it.
I mean, would y'all want to wake up and play a game if you know you ain't going to the ship?
Well, listen, Texas A&M could still go.
More on that later.
They sitting on F5, baby.
Over my dead body. Let me not
oh man.
Okay. I don't want to have to die before my time.
You've been wrong about them a lot this year, so I
haven't been wrong a lot. I've been wrong about us more than I've been wrong about them.
That's a fact. Hey, but hold on. Let's get into these games though. Let's get into these games. I wanna talk about what we got going on. Of course, we got the postponement going on. Oh, let me just make sure we say what's up, Eugene. I see you in here. He said Drinkwitz for Coach of the Year. That's actually I don't totally disagree with that. That's actually not a bad Coach of the Year candidate there. I reluctantly would say B Will might be mad at what I'm about to say, but Jimbo
say it. Say what you said.
I say Mullen.
He might.
Oh, come on.
Mullen's another good one, but I do believe that Texas A&M has had the better year. I mean, head to head, who won?
Yeah, but did Texas A&M beat Georgia?
Texas A&M didn't play Georgia.
Exactly. So here's what we're looking at then. Dan Mullen still, if records notwithstanding, Dan Mullen has done more with less. And that's always going to be who do I think deserves it. Missouri has had a better year than us.
Dan Mullen has
I
done more
didn't
with
know
less.
having a Heisman Trophy contender was less.
And one of the best tight ends in the league in the country.
Was he a Heisman Trophy contender before Dan Mullen got there? He was on the bench, right?
Last year he played well. I'm saying, but Trask wasn't even on the team before Mullen got there.
He was or was not?
He wasn't. I think last year was the first year that he was even.
No, he was already there.
No, he was on the team. He was on that team.
He was like third string. Okay, Dan Mullen was the one who was like, "Hey."
When Felipe Lopez got injured, Trask came in and took the job from there.
Dan Mullen was the one who put him up there in that spot.
He did. And since then, I think Dan Mullen turning him into that guy. Really, Florida kind of wasted that defense from last year, man. Can you imagine Trask slinging it like this with the defense from last year?
Yeah, but I ain't gonna let you get away with that statement that Dan Mullen is doing more with less. Like what? Listen, this last election cycle, 4 states legalized marijuana. Alabama was not one of them. I'd love to know what you're smoking down there.
I was like, where is he going with this?
I was wondering. First of all,
no way you
always don't plead the fifth about my recreational activity.
Right,
that's number one. The fifth.
Right, you know what, you own something down there.
And secondly, I have given more credit than I wanted to Jimbo this year because he has done a better job with it. I mean, I have to. I also think that the conference, all the way across the conference, was weak this year. It was weaker than it has been most years. Ole Miss could scare people by putting up points, but they weren't a good team.
You don't think Arkansas is better this year than they've been in the previous years?
They are better than they have been previous years. Are they good?
Okay. Do you feel like Georgia they're a little bit less, but like are they terrible?
They're worse than they are most years.
Okay. Bama hasn't dropped off. They're clearly superior offensively
Number one
this year. Their defense actually got better than last year's, right?
Yeah. Arguably Texas A&M took LSU spot.
Texas A&M, you could just swap out Texas A&M and LSU.
Right.
But then you say that Ole Miss is actually a more potent offense this year than they've been previously. They are harder out this year. Mississippi State, though they have not put up a ton of points, are still Arkansas is a better team. Ole Miss is a better team. And you can argue Missouri is a better team this year.
Right. Auburn is dragging the conference down. I'll say it.
All of those things are true. And yet the conference all the way across the board, if I'm averaging it out, I think we're weaker this year.
I don't agree with that. I think Florida being better this year, Bama being better this year, Arkansas being better than this year, I think it averages out to be a
what you're seeing is a conference that is not as top heavy as it's been in past seasons.
Right. Florida and Georgia Florida and Georgia just switched spots this year, right? The show in the East this year.
Say that. Yeah.
Right.
And Texas A&M just switched spots.
Right. Yeah. And then Auburn was our usual disappointing selves here at the end.
Oh, we were better last year. Don't do that. We were
better defensively last year. I would argue that we are
we're worse offensively this year.
We're worse.
We're definitely worse defensively.
Yeah. We were better last year. Yeah. We had way more potential. Anyway, we way off topic. We
can get in the coach of the year at a different point.
All right, so let's talk about some of these games. Let's start with the one that I'm sure nobody cares about, and let's talk about Tennessee versus Vanderbilt.
Tennessee's worse. Tennessee and Vanderbilt are awful. Kentucky was better last year. I think Vanderbilt was better last year. You know what? Y'all ain't slick.
This is a dangerous game for Tennessee.
It is a dangerous game for Tennessee. Tennessee might let Vandy catch their first dub.
If Vanderbilt is going to be that bad,
it's a dangerous game
for the guy who recruited them. If those players can't get up to beat other mediocre teams that they play this year, for the guy who recruited them, what happens when the guy who recruited them goes out the door? Look, you saw what happened to South Carolina. South Carolina's worse this year. Y'all ain't gonna get away with that. No, dog. It's like 5 teams that are worse.
Average, but there are like 4 teams that are better. I just don't think on average.
South Carolina was good last year, but on top,
they were better than they are this year.
The top half of the conference is arguably better.
It shifted. We didn't get one team. The number of great teams and good teams and mid teams and bad teams all stayed the same. They just changed names.
So let's talk about the 2 teams that do suck at the bottom of the league, Tennessee and Vandy.
Listen, I posed the question: is this the worst SEC team of all time? Right, Vanderbilt.
This Vanderbilt team.
Yeah, right. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and now they're approaching 0-9 here. Like, is this the worst team we've seen in the SEC?
Actually,
you count us against our 2012?
That Arkansas team from 2 years ago was really bad.
No, Vandy worse.
Yeah,
they're Vandy team. I think Vandy got them. I think Vandy got them.
Look at the stats of that Arkansas team because they didn't win an SEC game either. The question. So here's the question that
and let's be clear. And I saw the comment by a last commenter.
Yeah,
I don't know why they was hyping up Tennessee. Because I never understood the hype for Tennessee going into this year. I felt like they were going to face plant anyway.
It was it was twofold. Number one, they had been pulling really good recruits, and number two, everybody just gave Jeremy Pruitt the benefit of the doubt because it looked like the kids were trying under him. Looked like the students were trying, the recruits were trying. That the effort was there, and they pulled 1 or 2 wins out of their hat. And so everybody thought talent plus buy-in was naturally going to equal results this year. But
yeah, you still don't have a quarterback.
When you don't have the quarterback, yeah, it don't matter.
Right. And that's their problem.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of people's problem. All right, so let's get to the picks on this game. I will start this off with you, Mike. Who you feel like is going to win?
Listen, Vandy 0-9.
Us picking.
Yeah, 0-9, bro. Like, listen, Tennessee will win this one by default. Brian's second favorite quarterback in the NFC, Garantano, right? Is in this one. He'll pull out the win. They'll finish with 3 wins. And there's not a whole lot to say about this one. This is bad football right here. This is bottom of the barrel, gum on the bottom of the shoe type stuff that we're gonna be watching this. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's terrible. It's barely.
Be Will. You gonna pick Vandy to come in?
No, I was all rooting for Derek Mason. I wanted the brother to keep his job. He gone. Who cares?
You by at least 3 touchdowns. You're gonna tell us that that Vandy's gonna come up with a miracle at the end of the season?
They'll win the coin toss, but after that, it's all Tennessee. Question though: how much of Derek Mason's stuff is still in his office at this point?
What you mean?
Has he started moving out yet?
Completely?
I just mean it's the paper shredder and whatever files he's got to shred before he leaves. Pretty much.
Yeah,
he's got to be out.
There's any remnants of Derek Mason left in Vancouver right now.
Real talk.
Yeah, they probably packed it up for him.
Yeah, they probably sent the janitor in too.
And clean it up. Oh man, it's over when they clean up.
Yeah, just to put everything in the trash. They probably ain't gonna let him take anything with them. So
his room smells like pine sol.
Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy.
So,
poor guy.
I think everybody is gonna go, and I might have played like I was going to, but I'm not gonna pick Vandy in this game.
When did Pruitt get to Tennessee? What year did Pruitt get to Tennessee?
This is his 3rd or 4th year.
2018.
I thought it was his 3rd year. Yeah,
this is his 3rd year. So 18-19. This is 3rd 20.
So in 18, they had the 21st ranked recruiting class, right? In 19, they had the 13th ranked recruiting class.
Like that again, that's the hype. Is everybody seeing these recruiting classes?
And then last year they had number 20. The 10th ranked recruiting class coming into this year. So yeah, I mean he has steadily improved at least the appearance of the level of talent, right? And they should win based on that alone, right? Like
there were a couple. I remember us losing a couple of recruiting battles against them. That was a safety we wanted. That
we lost the lineman too.
Yeah, they had 13 4-stars.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had 13 4-stars in this last recruiting cycle.
The dude from Boys Man was gonna play at Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Whip or Bravo.
Yeah, so that's the hype around Tennessee, but they are definitely not living up to the hype. So it is what it is.
Sir.
I mean, whatever. They beat us a couple years ago, so screw them. All right, moving on to some games that actually might mean something for somebody. Actually, let's go ahead and get this other one, this snooze fest out of here. LSU against Florida. Is anybody picking LSU in the upset against Florida? Speak now. I need to make sure you declare this today if you want to pick that. Because now, Mike, you got the grin on your face. You were telling us Florida was
Don't do it, dog.
overhyped at the
Don't
beginning
do
of
it,
this
man.
season.
You was right
LSU
one
came out
time
here last
about
week.
A&M being a little better and Florida being a little worse, and you gonna ride that into the grave, ain't you? Go
No,
ahead.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. You've already made your shocking pick for the year. Don't do it. You don't do it.
Hey, listen, man. I want to. If you believe it, say it, brother.
Okay, so
He don't believe it. He don't believe it.
He don't
I'm
believe
about
it.
to give Mike the floor because he looked like he ready to tell us. He ready to tell us something that we don't know about.
if Brennan was playing in this game, I'd be.
He ain't played in 7 weeks, Mike.
Yeah, I'd be
8
tempted.
weeks.
Right, but no, I'm going to stick with Florida on this one. I think this might be a little bit more competitive than a lot of people think that it might
Florida
be.
might put up 60.
It's a little bit of a trap game for Florida as well too, because they already got the SEC championship locked in. This will be a psychological coaching job for Dan Mullen going into this one, knowing that they've got to face off against the Bama juggernaut in 2 weeks. Right. So I'll be watching to see how mentally prepared he has his team for a game that in essence doesn't matter in terms of the SEC East race. Right. Can they escape this game winning comfortably and with no notable injuries going into the SEC championship game? Right.
I mean, that's really the only thing I'm monitoring this game is do they get injured at all during this game or somebody do some stupid targeting thing in the second half where they miss the first half of the SEC championship.
They're going to need.
Otherwise, I feel like Florida might put up 60. Like LSU's defense is just not good.
They're terrible. They're terrible.
Florida's offense is amazing. I just don't know how anybody can they're going to have to come up and lay the biggest goose egg I've ever seen. This will go down as the biggest choke job at the end of the season ever if Florida even allows this to be close.
Right, because they're in control of their own destiny at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
They went out. They're in the playoff. That's not an argument. Debatable. There's no controversy to that statement, man. If they finish the season, 11-1 or 10-1, beating Bama as their last game, they're in, right? Trask will have a field day with. Yeah, I mean, Eugene.
That was a good time to pad your Heisman stats.
I'm telling you. Listen, Trask has been one of the most impressive quarterbacks in college football this year. He's 230 out of 322 passing. He's passed for 3,200 yards at 38 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in an all SEC schedule. That's amazing, right? So, LSU's got talent, right? They had a lot of attrition, right? But they've still got talent. They just got young, raw, undeveloped talent. And what you're going to see from Orgeron is whether he was worth all the money they dumped on him. Did he just catch lightning in a bottle one year with?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Burrow, right? But he's going to have a chance to prove that. It seems like every LSU coach has to deal with what the last coach left him, right? You know what I mean? Like Saban left Miles, right? Like a lot of talent. He squeaked out a national title with that, but then they weren't able to do much, right? Orgeron, when he didn't leave, he didn't inherit the cupboard empty. Right, but he was able to, get that team motivated to play. So I'll be watching. I mean, this game will mean a lot for LSU going into next year, right? If they can be competitive in this one, and it will show us, what kind of competitive gap they're going to have between now and next season. I just wouldn't be surprised to see them come out and put up a fight in this one, right? Because again, it's a little bit of a trap game for Florida, right? And just don't be surped if this one is.
They're scoring the 20s.
Yeah, going into the, I think going
to the 20s, but
mid third quarter,
almost 60.
You think so? I don't know, man. Like
defense is terrible.
It is.
How many points did we score against LSU? How many?
I agree.
Did we score against LSU?
I agree.
Let's take out the defensive touchdown. How many points did our offense put up against LSU?
Right, but you guys are always arguing stats, and you're not wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
I'm not arguing stats. I'm arguing play on the field, and they're terrible.
Right. Yeah, I'm just telling you psychologically, I think this is a trap game for Florida, and you might see this one be a little bit more competitive than you think it's going to be going midway through the third quarter.
Which is why I say they'll score 20 as opposed to 10.
Okay. Go ahead.
I like to give my prediction.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're wrong, and I think
Okay.
LSU is going to lay all the way down and get ran
Okay.
all the way over
All right.
by this Florida machine.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
It's gonna. It's. I mean, this game is going to be rated R, NC-17,
Okay.
TV mature. It's not going to be for kids. Kids should not watch this.
Okay. All right. I understand. Listen, I'm used to it being me against the world, baby. Right? Like, listen.
Okay.
I get it. I get what you guys are saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm hedging a little bit. I'm just saying
it isn't even about you against the world. You just riding with a very trash defense this time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm counting on. But is anybody LSU, man? It's about Florida.
No,
right?
no. It is about Mike's bias against Florida since the start of the season, and that got him one pick correct.
It was a big one, though. It was a big one.
That's fine.
Big.
One correct pick, and you are sticking with the premise of that pick, which is that Florida is undeserving of their hype.
No. I think they're deserving. I think that they're very deserving. I just think that this particular game is just a trap game where it falls on the schedule, given how their schedule played out. That's it. Everybody's due to lay an egg. Everybody's due to lay an egg, no matter how bad the competition is, man. I'm telling you.
They did that against Texas A&M already.
Hey, do you remember they laid an egg in that game?
Do you remember the movie Rocky IV when Apollo Creed fought the Russian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, LSU's Apollo Creed. Okay?
No, man.
He's gonna look good. He's gonna come out, and Mike's gonna be feeling good, and then that one punch, that first punch, and it's just.
I don't think it's going to be the first punch. I think it's going to be the fourth or fifth punch somewhere in the third quarter. That's all I'm saying.
So wait,
I don't feel like that's controversial.
I've watched
it's not controversial. I just don't think it's true.
I watched Florida the last few weeks, and they have actually gotten off to some really slow starts in all their games against Kentucky, against Tennessee. So I don't think it's out of the question that they have a slow start again. And they only be up 7 or they up 3 at half. But I don't think that's because LSU is actually a good team or they're playing a better game. Right. Florida pulls away by a lot in the second half, which means Dan Mullins does something that Gus Malzahn doesn't believe in, which is actually a counter, but a punch, a plan B, and making adjustments.
Right.
So Florida, I do think it could look close for a half, and then the third quarter they will pull away because they've done that against I don't want to say much worse teams, but teams just as bad as LSU. So I don't think that means Florida's not good.
Here's the danger in playing a team like LSU that again, they've got talent. We agree they have talent, just raw talent, right? Raw, unrealized talent. Is that the longer you let them hang around in the game, the more they start to believe, right? And now this game is at Florida, so like
it is.
Not that home crowds have been much of a factor this year anyway, right? But
really, hey, you hear the broadcast. Listen, the home crowd is still noise, and it's
if you're going to play Georgia, because they'll tell you they'll let in 15% and let in 60%, right? But like I don't know, man. I'm watching this one. I'm watching this one a little bit with my heart. I was a little hotter on LSU this year than everybody else was. Brian called LSU correctly from the start of the season. Credit to him. I think if they let them hang around and they have that slow start, just be careful if the ball doesn't bounce their way a couple times. And going into the third quarter, this might be a game. And I'll be watching how Dan Mullen has his team psychologically prepared for this one, right? But we've got the biggest game that they've ever had, right, in a long time, coming up in a week against Bama, right? Where this falls on the schedule is dangerous for them.
I hear you. LSU by 30. All right, so Bama's going to be playing Arkansas this week. Florida's going to win that game probably by 30, seriously, though. Bama's playing Arkansas. Like, is there any drama here?
Nah.
No. Like, listen,
the question. Here's a more legitimate question. How many quarters does Bryce? What's his last name? The backup for Bama.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
How many quarters does Bryce Young play this week?
Well, let's see.
The question here is not how bad they're going to be winning the game, because they're going to be winning the game. Are they going to try to stat pad for Mac Jones going into the end of this game? Is Bryce Young going to get to start playing at the top of the fourth quarter?
Well, what kind of game is
40 something?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. What kind of game is Brian's godson Felipe Franks going to have in the first 2 quarters? Right? Like, I mean, uh, Bama's defense is you can score on them, right? You can score on them.
Can you?
Yeah, you can score on them. You can score on them, right? Like
Who has scored on them since?
this is
Yeah,
this,
I mean, but what kind of scoring are we talking about?
right.
Garbage points, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, they're gonna need some help. They're gonna need some help from Bama, right? But I don't think that I mean all I'm watching here is Mac Jones gonna beat Trask out for the Heisman because those are my 2 front runners, right? That's all I'm watching in this game. Bama will get their averages easily offensively, right? I disagree. I don't think
saying it's a trap game.
Yeah, listen, as a Bama fan, like that's a good mindset to have, Eugene, right? Like Bama grad is a great mindset to have, right? On the outside looking in, I don't think this is a trap at all.
Nah.
This has probably been one of the more impressive teams that Nick Saban has put together and coached all the way around. I mean, they lost arguably their best offensive player and just keep pushing.
Right. Which, wait a minute. I asked y'all earlier in the year, did the numbers with Mac Jones and Tua having a shaky first game as a starter in the NFL, he picked it up 2 games and then he got benched 2 games later. Does Mac Jones operate in the same system with comparable wide receiver talent cast any doubt on Tua's value as a quarterback? And y'all said, Tua, he was really that good. No. And I'm not saying he was that good, but I don't think saying they lost their best offensive player into it is necessarily mean that they actually got worse at the position. I don't think Mac Jones is worse than Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, he's a different kind of quarterback, though, right?
Yeah,
they're playing a different game.
It's not a better or worse thing to me. I think it's just different. I think the thing that I've always said about, and I said this about Tua last year, is his propensity to always want to hit a home run. Like he always wants to hit the home run, and that's the thing that doesn't bode him well at the next level. It's fine at the college level. It was fine at high school because undoubtedly he's playing with superior athletes on his team at both of those levels. In the NFL, once the talent gap is going to be it's not going to be as big a margin. You can't always want to be the home run guy. You have to be able to take what the defense gives you. And that's the thing I think that allows Mac Jones to probably be a little more prototypical for the next level, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's a better college quarterback. I think Tua, being as athletic as he is and being able to take the risks and hit the home runs is why he was really good at that position in college. It just doesn't translate the same way. He's got to unlearn some of that. The same way, we talk about Bo Nix and his inability to translate away from being the most athletic kid at Pinson Valley versus being the most athletic kid in the SEC. Like that's just not there. You're not that guy, right? But he thinks he is. And he thinks he can get away with lazy mechanics that allow him to just do what he wants to. And that's not how it works at this level. Tua just happens to be better at the college level than a Bo Nix is, but he ain't. I don't think that translates to the next level for him. So anyway, back to your original question. No, I don't think that diminishes the value that Tua play for this offense. What it does for me though is tells me their offensive coordinator is really that good at scheming up things for the talent that he has in front of him. Doesn't matter if I have a super mobile guy. I know how to use him. Doesn't matter if I have a pocket presence guy or a pocket passer guy. I know how to use him. I can use the talent that's on the field in front of me. A ton of people aren't able to do that. Steve Sarkisian has mastered it.
Yes, he has, but when your wide receivers beating people by like 5 yards, man, I mean, come on.
Like I said, the talent gap is just
that's just a talent. Yeah, that's just Bama just exactly talent.
I wonder how
good. But a lot of that is scheme too. That's understanding what
it is
trying to do when they're attacking you and scheming up a thing that challenges that and makes them make mistakes mentally and taking advantage of it. Like a lot of that is a scheme thing.
Guys, we're talking about a machine over there. Okay, are we really going to argue parts to this machine? Are we really going to do this?
What else is there to argue? There's no competition in this game.
Oh, we got a lot to argue, but it ain't got nothing to do with this game.
Got other things we can definitely get and have a real conversation about. Let's move on to the only game that's going to be matched up against 2 teams in the top 25. We mentioned them earlier, but Georgia and Missouri. playing one another. This is an SEC East matchup. Neither one of these guys have a prayer to win the SEC East, but surprisingly, Missouri in the top 25, Georgia now ranked number 9. This is probably the only game that somebody may want to pick an upset. So, does anybody want to raise their hand and say they're picking Missouri to upset Georgia in this game?
I am.
Now, this is a trap game for Georgia.
Hold on. Let me let B Will get in here and talk to us. B Will, you gonna pick Missouri?
No.
I mean, it's not too complicated. They have been playing decent, but again, I think a lot of their competition has been bad this year. I think a lot of people are worse than they would have been with the camp and off season, all that being what it should have been. But when you take somebody who is talent deficient, like Missouri is, and you have them beating teams, it doesn't matter who they beat because they weren't beating anybody the last 2 years. So if you are beating teams, remember they beat LSU soundly, and that was the point. It was like, Missouri, really? And we all thought LSU had a bad start against Mississippi State, but maybe I didn't think they was going to get it together. But Mike was like, they're going to get no, but they're not because they're not good. And Missouri was kind of the telltale, like, oh, they really aren't good. I thought LSU was just that bad, but then Missouri beat a couple other teams that are middling. But if you don't have the talent advantage, you got more talent than Tennessee, you beat Tennessee. You got more talent than you don't have more talent than Tennessee, but you beat Tennessee. You don't have more talent than I say, no, I don't think they have more talent than South Carolina. They have played above their talent level. And to me, that's always a sign of good coaching. So I would give the advantage coaching wise. The home field advantage coaching wise, and then the kind of faith and belief that starts to happen when you are
better coach.
When you start to win. You're not used to winning, and you start to win, and that is tangible. I mean, that's 2013 for us. That's what happens when you start believing you can do it. You just start doing it. Now, we're not talking about that level of achievement for them, but past their talent level, yeah, they're getting there. So do I think he's a better coach than Kirby? I'm going by the first year results. Are they playing past their talent level? Missouri is, yes. Is Georgia playing above their talent level? No. So right now, from what I've seen from this coach and what I've seen from Kirby, yes, he is a better coach than Kirby this year, at least this year. Going forward, we'll see. So yeah, I'll take Missouri on the gamble. It can't hurt.
All right, see, you were about to chime in. Let me hear you say what you got to say about this game.
It's a trap game, but I got Georgia. I got Georgia in a close one.
Georgia in a close one. Mike, what are you feeling about it?
You know what? I'm sitting here thinking that everything that Brian just said didn't sound completely crazy to me.
Yeah. Come on over to this side.
No, it didn't sound crazy at all.
It didn't sound crazy to me. I thought, I was like, this guy Brian might.
Come on, dog.
So I'm surprised. I continue to be in awe of how Georgia just has no shame about switching out their quarterback, right? Like, sure. I love this about their program. Kirby will pull the mother right out of the game and put the next guy in at quarterback. So I'm going with Georgia in this one. I mean, listen, statistically, this is a close game on paper. This is a real close game on paper. You're talking about
rushing yards are going to be the stat that you have to look at in this game. If Georgia is able to stop Missouri running the ball, then it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah,
Missouri's a pretty balanced team.
But really, where one gives away an advantage, they lose it on the other end. So, like, you're talking about 31 points scored per game for Georgia versus 27 for Missouri, right? Like, points allowed might be the difference. Like, Georgia's defense is clearly better, right?
Right.
Than Missouri's, and I think that could be the difference in the game. But in terms of total yards, Georgia's under 400 yards per game, and Missouri is outgaining them by like 40 yards. Missouri has the edge in passing by almost 60 yards. They give away about 20 yards rushing per game. So I mean, this is a statistically even matchup, right? I feel like it could go either way. But in a game where two teams I feel like are evenly matched, I'm going with the better defense, which I feel like is clearly Georgia. So Georgia in a close one by 10 or less.
Yeah, I was going to pick Georgia by 10, actually, basically because of their defense.
So y'all going to leave me out here by myself?
Yeah,
in the blanket.
We're saying.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Y'all
In
also
a blanket, in a jacket.
Y'all also forget, not only is it a home game, but it's always an emotional factor when it's the last home game of the season, which is senior day.
Yeah.
And
now you're talking about language. Now you're talking about language.
It did not make a difference for us last game.
Right.
Our defense. It's a whole nother conversation. But I do think it can make a difference for a team who has been on the upswing.
Yeah. I hear you. Georgia by 10. All right.
I want my credit if we get to the show on Saturday. I want my credit.
Take your credit away from you when you pick right. You know what I'm saying? But let's get to the game.
I ain't gonna talk about it as long as Mike did with that one, but it's cool.
Let's get to the game we here to talk about for real. And this is the last game of the season for us. This is us versus
Thank God.
Make it in.
Jesus.
On the road to Cowbell City against the newly Mike Leach-led air raid attack, Auburn, Mississippi State. A team that has been known to embarrass us every now and then when we are having subpar seasons. So what are we feeling? Who wants to start? First of all, do we want to get into the game first, or do we want to talk about all the stuff surrounding the game first? Because that's really there's a lot of other stuff surrounding this game where it has ramifications beyond the game itself. Let me pose this question.
Yeah, go ahead. Nope.
Let me pose this question before we get into the game breakdown, right? Regardless of how you pick this game, do you feel as if, I don't care what you think about the pick, if we lose this game, if Auburn loses this game, is the administration duty bound to get rid of Gus Malzahn at the end of this season? Like, is it feasible? Maybe not. But should they do it? Should they just publicly say, hey, bro, the only reason you're still here is because we don't want to pay to make you leave. But this is unacceptable. Does that need to be a statement coming out of the mouth of the AD?
Yeah, I think that it should be. I think that it should be a discussion about. Listen, if going into next season we have not clearly made strides, right?
Well, like, what's the indicator of clearly making strides going into the season, right?
Yeah, we have to be better offensively than we are. Period. We just need to be a better offensive football team than we are. I keep saying it. I've said it again. It was clear and apparent to me that Gus has tied his coaching fortunes at Auburn to whether Bo Nix is going to turn into a championship caliber quarterback. Right? We haven't seen it. Arguably, to me, he's regressed this year. Right? So, I really believe that, when you look at the totality of what their season was, right? Mississippi State getting moved to the end of the season was a little bit of a blessing for Gus, because now he gets at least the chance to finish the year with some feel goods, right? Rather than getting run off the field by Bama, Texas A&M to end the season, right? This kind of changes the order of things for Gus a little bit. And I just think that I don't think they get rid of him. To answer your question directly, I don't think that you get rid of him if they lose this game. If they get him back,
I don't think that they will. I'm just asking, should they?
Right? Yeah. I think what should happen is that now the seat warmers definitely turn on, but in a meaningful kind of way. Right? It's the SEC, man. So whenever you have a disappointing season, there's always talk of the hot seat, right? But I really believe that based on the steps that we took back on defense, right? And I'm giving Steele a little grace because he's put some good defenses out there, since he's been at Auburn, and we laid kind of an egg, but I think that's more symbolic of what the team is as a whole so far this year. Right. And then the offense wasn't able to pick up the slack this year. That was the most disappointing part, right? Is the offense we couldn't count on them for anything this year. We didn't know what kind of Bo was going to show up. He, had maybe arguably his best road game of his career this year, but he also played terribly at home in some spots, right? So, the inconsistency there, the lack of player development, it's just, we're going into year 9 or 10. Like, it's just time to start looking at this thing and saying, listen, is this a guy that's going to take us into the future? And, what does the 2021 schedule look like? Like, how do we start the year in 2021?
So, I mean, that was going to be my question. You said, like, we're going to have to see an improvement offensively next year. How many games into the season are we going to have to look at that and say, okay, look, this clearly hasn't gotten any better? Like, how many games?
Whoa, is this for real?
Make that assessment.
Is this
what's the
real schedule? Okay, so right now it looks like 2021. We start off with Akron, right? And then we play Penn State, our second game of the season.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right.
But see, here's the thing. Like, we're saying good as if Penn State's going to be the same trash Penn State that they're being this year.
Listen, yeah, right. Listen, that was a sexy matchup when they scheduled it, right? Like, let's be clear.
They might not be as bad as they are right now, but
they were a top 10 team to start the season.
So we're
top 15, top 15.
Yeah, we were.
Penn State.
Rankings being absolutely
right. No, all I'm saying is like, listen, this was a team that there were a lot of expectations on Penn State was to start the season, right? Like, so
that's gonna be the hot seat bowl right there. Because
right. If James
comes,
right,
Franklin's hot seat is gonna get pretty warm if he.
How the mighty have fallen!
Oh my goodness, right? These all don't underestimate the impact these all conference schedules have had on these records, right? It is difficult to come in and not have any tune-up games, to not have the same sort of, pre 2 weeks that you would have, and then roll straight into an SEC or a Big Ten schedule, right? Like, so I think that had a profound effect on a lot of teams. So we start off with Akron, we get a tune-up game, right? We get to get some feel goods, and then we're at Penn State. We go there.
Oh, okay.
We go there. So I think that I don't think he necessarily has to win, but they got to be competitive.
No, he needs to get
he needs to win that.
He got to win.
I don't know, man.
If we lose that game, it needs to be like a controversial loss where it's like we feel like we got screwed out of it, or like they can't go in and lose that game only putting up like 10 points. Right,
yeah,
like it's got to be like, like something like, but you can't just lose that game, bro. Like a non-conference game against a team that's been floundering the previous season, against a coach that is likewise on the hot seat, can't lose that, man.
Well, they'll be three. They should be no worse than 3-1 going into SEC play, right? So all I'm saying is you got 4 games to figure it out, right? And then this schedule, based on what we saw this year, looks real. This is rough, man. Arkansas. Right, Alabama. Right. Oh,
home games, right?
Yeah. Like, well, listen, they have the dates to be announced on here, so it's not necessarily in this order.
Oh, okay. So it's not in that order. Okay.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, we've got Texas A&M, South.
So we might open the season against Penn State.
Correct. No. Those games are set. The first 4 games are set.
Okay.
Right.
The SEC schedule is up in the air.
Yeah, SEC schedule is up in the air right now.
So who are the 2 games after Penn State?
It's Georgia State right after Penn State, September 25th. And now that I'm looking at this, Alabama State is actually November 20th. So they're our sandwich game before.
Okay. Because I figure we always have a little cupcake before the.
So I stand corrected. They should be 2-1 going into SEC play.
Okay.
At worst, if we lose to Penn State, and then you'll see the wheels come off the bus real quick after that if we have not improved. I'm just looking at these teams, and it doesn't matter what order this is in. I see losses everywhere if we haven't improved. Right? I see losses everywhere.
So let's talk about something that you just mentioned a second ago. That you said, Bo Nix has arguably regressed this season. He's had better games on the road than he had last year, but he's also played worse games at home. So really what you've seen is indicative is actually Bo Nix just doesn't play well in big games. Because all of his big games last year were on the road, and that's why he looked bad on the road. I don't think it's a home road thing for him. I think it's just competition. Like if you're good, he doesn't play well against you currently. So I don't think it matters what stadium he's playing in.
Yeah, the one caveat The one caveat would be Oregon at a neutral site.
He did not play well that game.
Yeah, I mean, he threw the game-winning touchdown pass.
He just didn't play as bad as he played against.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm even giving him that. Is not great, right? Yeah.
We've acknowledged he played poorly up until the last 2 possessions, really, of that game, and he really got lucky on both of those throws. So that was not a good game from him. Like,
right, agreed.
In big games, Bo Nix does not play. Now, what he does is he shows up usually in big moments from time to time, but in retrospect, Oregon wasn't as good as people thought they were. Right? They were okay. They played a little. You know what I'm saying? They were a decent team. I'm not calling them trash that season, but our defense is really what won us that game. Plus a few very fortunate drops by some receivers for Oregon.
Right.
Yes. They did us some favors.
I just don't know. Bo Nix in big games just has not been anything. The biggest game that he played well in last year would have been the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, he played decent in the Iron Bowl last year. I'll give him that, but that's literally the only game that has been against a top opponent that I will say Bo Nix had a good game.
We didn't win because of him. We won because we got 2 pick sixes, right?
Correct.
Right. He thoroughly got outplayed by the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Mac, even with his interceptions, played better.
Played a better game.
Sure.
Right. So that just brings me to another thing that I saw that cannot go unaddressed, right? Is Gus's comment that he had to walk back out a 6-4 season. So if you haven't seen it, he essentially was making excuses for and kind of trying to justify a 6-4 season, like, hey, normal year, this would be acceptable, right? And then
because he'd have at least 2 more wins against Cupcakes to pass.
Actually, he was asked about No, this was what was so wild about the comment, because the question was referring to them not being able to go 7-3 this year, and what are your goals now? And he says, of course, 6-4. Then he goes down this rabbit hole of saying in a normal year where you have 2 more non-conference games, you have basically a season as 8-4. Right. As if we spend all this time excited about recruiting the offseason just for Auburn to come back and be 8-4. 8-4 doesn't get you any close to the college football playoff. It doesn't get you to the SEC championship. That's not a solid year by any
stretch.
It doesn't even get you in the top 25. And this is something Mike and I had a conversation about earlier this week. If you look at the coaches being paid the most money right now in college football, Gus ranks in the top 10. If you are a top 10 in the amount of money you are bringing in, you cannot expect to be outside of the top 25 consistently by the end of every season. That doesn't make any sense. How are you a top 10 paid coach, but yet you can't field a team that's consistently in the top 10? How are you constantly in the top 20 in your recruiting rankings, but can't field a team that's going to be ranked consistently within the top 10? That doesn't make sense. You can't have the highest paid coach with some of the best talent by star rating and still be a sub 25 team at this point in the season. That's just silly.
Well, this
is the stat that I kept seeing that was amazing to me, was that this is the 7th straight season that Auburn has lost 4 or more games in a season.
7 straight years. Next year we'll rely on Bo Nix improvement or not, right? I agree 100%, Cameron. Like this was, but he set this up this way. That's the danger of this, right? Like if you look at this team, we're wholly reliant on Bo Nix's development, where you see at other top programs, they're not that reliant on one player, right? Like,
right.
They can, okay, we got to play the backup, but, we're solid everywhere else. So we just got to change the game plan a little bit to account for, somebody's inexperience on the field, right? With the type of recruiting that we've done over the years, the lack of depth is probably the most disappointing thing about where we're at this year.
Yeah.
Right. Tank goes down, man. Does anybody remember a time when we were running back back and linebackers, man? We used to put them out every year. At one point when we were in school, we had 2 guys go top 5 in the NFL draft.
And Ronnie.
Yeah, they both came back to school in the same year, and everybody couldn't believe it, right? The Carlos Dansby's, our current linebacker coach Travis Williams was one of the most underrated linebackers in SEC history, right? Like I mean, we had some guys, we had solid safeties. We were solid on the outsides with the DBs. I mean, we had some frustrating play at corner, but for the most part, there was always depth. There was always some guy who was a 2 or 3 star that we had never heard of that got his shot and showed out, right? And where is that? Like, arguably, they've got more talent than any Auburn coach has had in history at Auburn. These are the highest rated recruiting classes, and to finish 7 straight years with at least 4 losses is the epitome of disappointing for us.
Now, granted,
how many years outside of that? So let's just talk about Gus Malzahn, and I'll go to you right here. And again, so how many years has Gus Malzahn been our coach?
This is year 8.
Yeah, this is year 8.
Yep.
So he had 1 season where he didn't lose 4 games.
Year 1.
Every other year, yes.
And let's add this caveat, though. He played an additional game in 2017 because we played in the SEC championship game.
Right.
There were, I'm sure of the 14 people in our conference, 2 people played in a 13 game regular season. And that was us in Georgia. And then everybody else played 12. If everybody else played an extra game, they would have had another loss as well. At least half of them would have mathematically. So I don't hold that against him. We were good enough to get that extra game. We won.
He's had 2 good seasons, though.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Right. 2.
Right.
So even though it's the 7 straight of 4 losses, because you played an SEC championship and then you played a good team in a bowl game, we still should have won that game. So that's not an excuse. But I would count 2 good years.
Point is, like, he didn't have to lose the bowl game just because he won the SEC.
Right. And so I would count that against him as well. But in my head, that was still a good year. That was a good team. I'm going to give him credit for 2013 in that year. Now, the other 6, it's been embarrassing.
To answer the initial question about what should happen, I think if he loses to Mississippi State, it definitely
let's
ramps
not
up.
Say they lose. Let's just say it's a really bad game and they win. Like, we do not have a good showing Saturday. Like, win the game ugly or lose.
I don't think it should even matter. I don't even think it should matter what happens at Mississippi State. We saw what we needed to see last weekend. Right,
I agree.
Even though we played a top 10 team in Texas A&M and we were competitive for 3 quarters, that game told us a lot about what we need to know about the trajectories of those 2 teams. On one side, you have A&M, which has been recruiting well. They currently have the number 6 recruiting class under Jimbo Fisher, and in year 4 with a mid quarterback, Brian, a nod to you. They are sitting right outside of the college football playoff, and with enough chaos could actually get in the college football playoff in year 4 of the Jimbo Fisher era, and they're still recruiting well, right? On the other hand, you have Auburn, and let's just talk about since Gus pulled off the greatest heist in 2017 that would have made Daniel Ocean and his 10 friends jealous by signing that contract with Auburn. Since then, we will finish unranked for the 2nd straight time since he signed that contract. We did it in 2018. We're primed to do it this year. Right. We've been 2-7 against our biggest rivals, Bama, Georgia, and LSU. We're currently 4-11 against ranked opponents since he signed that contract. We currently hold a 42nd ranked recruiting class.
43rd, yep.
43rd with only 12 commits, and signing day is a week. The early signing period is a week away.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like we're going forward. We're going backwards, right? Texas A&M is passing us. You can argue that they've already passed us. Florida has already passed us. There was a time where we were ahead of both of those 2 schools trying to keep up with Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. Now we got to try to keep up with A&M and Florida.
Right, the next tier down. We're in
the next tier down. We are sliding towards the middle of the conference, and it's only getting worse. Mississippi State. We have to look to Mississippi State to determine if we're going to keep this guy.
Right. Yeah. The only hope that Gus has is that the lights turn on for Bo, or that he catches lightning in a bottle with another quarterback, JUCO quarterback, going into next year somehow. Because right now we don't even have a clear.
I don't know that that's the only hope. I think that there is a hope that Tank Bigsby is otherworldly next year.
I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it'll matter if we're one-dimensional. I don't think it'll matter if we're one-dimensional, and
I think the pressure not being on Bo allows him to
be
on
our O-line.
Be
right.
It'll be about our O-line.
On our O-line. If our O-line gets better,
I'm just saying, if we have a running game that's Heisman worthy, a middling quarterback, and an improved defense. Now, I'm also saying that the defense is going to get better, but an improved defense and a Heisman caliber running back allows you to be just an okay guy who can make miraculous plays every now and then, which Bo is capable of doing. If it's not on him to throw 40 times per game like it's been in the last 2 seasons, then of course Bo is going to have to mature a lot more quickly. But he just needs to be a guy who can make a play every now and then. Now, do I trust him to do that right now? Absolutely not. But he's a gamer. I'll give him that. He's a gamer. He's just not a guy I want dropping back throwing the ball 30 sometimes a game.
Right. We have a comment here I want to address about whether off-season weightlifting and spring practice had an effect on true freshmen not getting playing time. It absolutely has an effect.
Absolutely.
Like, listen, I mean, but every team had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So some teams maybe needed it more than others, depending on how much attrition they had from the previous years. I'll give them that. Right. Teams like LSU, right, probably needed the spring probably more than some other teams in the SEC based on what they lost.
Yeah.
Right.
But everybody had to deal with it. And for what we were returning, we should have been in that group that, outside of O-line that needed it less, right, than some other schools did. We certainly needed less than LSU, right? And if we had lost that game, good God, what would we be talking about right now? We would be talking about a losing season potentially. So I just really feel like this type of season is indicative of the type of organization that you run. Because I know I'm hard on Bo, right? But at the end of the day, I really feel like when players don't pan out, players take more of the blame than the administrations do. And the administrations and the development and the coaches and the organizations, which is Auburn University, needs to take more responsibility for why these kids don't pan out. Period.
Which is why I'm focusing this whole conversation on whether or not Gus Malzahn.
Gus is it, right?
So I think what you said earlier, Mike, is 3 games into the season, we'll start our SEC play.
Correct.
In that first SEC game, we aren't showing some sort of improvement on the offensive side of the ball. You think it's time for them to just say, you know what? Thanks for playing
from the jump. So Gus doesn't have the opportunity to improve it as he goes along. You need to see it once you hit the ground running in SEC play.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a real possibility that this defense may look middling again next year. Right. Like, unless we find some answers on D-line. So this is probably one of the better defensive backfields that we've had in a long time. Ike said it on last week. I really thought that was an intelligent statement, a very keen observation. And then next year, if we can hold the line there, in the defensive backfield and make some improvements, we have gotten spoiled by our defense bailing us out and keeping us into games, right? Yeah, I want to get to I'm here in a second. So we've been spoiled by that, but that's the way football is going. It's becoming an offensive game, right? It started a while ago, right? Saban adapted. He went away from that 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of football when he hired Lane Kiffin. I thought that was one of the better hires of his career, and started realizing that if I don't evolve offensively, it's no longer defense wins championships. You just got to score points, baby, and you got to score them big, right? The rules protect offensive players. The rules of football protect offensive players, right? You can't touch them now without it being a penalty or targeting or getting thrown out of the game for the rest of the game and half of the next game, right? So, offensively, we're not making the jump for supposedly an offensive-minded head coach. It is really time to start talking about moving forward, because if this recruiting class doesn't perk up, then you have nothing. We have nothing to look forward to, right? Like, I mean,
because we can't hope on him being able to develop better all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah. We have to hope.
Yeah. That's where I was gonna go. You started with the question, Ike, what if he loses this game? Should that be the trigger? The trigger should have been losing to UCF in 2017. Like, I wouldn't have extended him.
Getting embarrassed by UCF.
You had the best team you've had in 4 years, and this is what you do. Nah, you out of here, buddy. That between that and the SEC championship game. But unfortunately, he's managed to. I think the most telling thing about his comments were, "Oh, well, next season we've got experience and using we got
right."
Dog,
but he's not factoring attrition.
Right.
Like he's assuming that the whole gang is coming back.
Right.
We have so few defensive linemen on our roster that losing at the very least Truesdale. I don't know if Newkirk is a junior or senior, but you lose. I don't. We know that interior we're not good. Now you're going to lose half of that. At least he was present and consistent. Like we don't even have size on the defensive line on our roster. Right. We don't have enough depth there. Like usually, okay, we don't have depth because the first team is good and the second team is all right. No, the first team is it. Like that's pretty much it for defensive line. Okay. We have a highly prized recruit already in the class of defensive line.
Is a senior, by the way.
Oh, so we lose both interior defensive linemen. I think Lee Hunter is a 5-star defensive lineman that's coming in this year. He's been shaky. He's been saying, "Oh no, I'm still getting recruited. My recruitment's still open." Now he committed last year, but he's not a solid lock. We don't have. Not only do we not have outstanding talent at defensive line right now, we don't have really any talent
Big
at
Cat
defensive
is a
line.
senior, by the way, as well.
So the whole defensive line almost is gone. We got some young guys who have been flashing this year, and that's good. But defensive interior line, we don't have anything. There is no way, like Mike said, we don't have any reason to believe that our defense is going to be any better next year because we're going to have the exact same problem, which is we won't be able to move anybody, anybody's offensive line. People should be able to run on us very easily, and our secondary is going to be doing the best that they can, even though they are a sound group. Right. Linebacker, Britt's. I don't think Britt has a reason to come back. Why would he? Why would he forego?
I think this was his senior year. I think
it is, but he only played. They were saying, well, this was just talk. He could get an injury waiver if he wanted to. But again,
I think everybody's
and in a COVID year
eligibility.
Right. Yeah. But why would he? Why would you forego the NFL? Now he didn't put anything on tape this year for real. But
is he going to get drafted though? Like KJ Britt he's a good run stopping linebacker, but is he NFL quality run stopping linebacker?
He's probably going to see what
he would have something to
play
prove.
the pass.
Yeah, listen,
he would have something to prove.
To Cameron's comment about the monster QB coming out of 6A Texas football, right? Like, I don't think that it matters because this coaching staff hasn't proved that they know what to do with a freshman QB.
Mm-hmm.
Name one in the last 10 years that we have taken and they have finished their career at Auburn. Right? Like it just doesn't happen. Yeah. I mean, we're not developing freshman QBs. So like that is a non-starter for me in terms of getting excited about QB recruits because all I've seen is them either misevaluate these kids coming out or underdevelop them. It's been one of the two, right? So, what this system requires somebody who Gus and Co did not teach how to play quarterback at the college level. And then we really are depending. Our system depends a lot on kids to come in ready-made and ready to go.
I'll say this and sorry to cut you off. I'll say this. I do think Chad Morris has done a better job of trying to get Bo Nix to understand how to read defenses and how to be a little more patient. I just don't think Bo Nix listens consistently. Like he routinely reverts back to poor mechanics. And I think a lot of that, unfortunately, is because last year, nobody was holding him accountable for an entire season. And so he had a whole year in the SEC and he thought a year more of experience was going to allow him to be better. And so he was off to a handicap to begin with because he didn't come in with somebody saying, this ain't it, Bo. You can't just keep doing this crap. And so I'll say that I have hope for Demetrius Davis to be a little bit better because he's going to come in with Chad Morris starting from the beginning. But it's a very slim amount of hope looking at what has been a very up and down season for Bo Nix this year. The question still remains is whether or not that kid is a little more coachable and able to understand kind of the concepts that they're going to be putting in front of him. I don't know. I haven't watched any of his tape, honestly, so I'll have to go watch it.
Well, Chad Morris.
I just don't want if we see Demetrius, I don't want it shouldn't be one of those things to where by the time we see Demetrius, it doesn't even matter.
That's going to be actually the bigger question too. how long do they ride with Bo Nix if he's playing poorly early in the season?
Right, because they're still making excuses for him now, right? Like, to my point, right, is that all these other schools, they seem to be able to pull their starters when they're playing decent.
At any point, Georgia, it's like you listen. You one wrong thing, you sitting on the bench, buddy.
Right, for the guy that's better. I mean, look at it, it's all around. You know, when Jalen Hurts got pulled for Tua, right? I was shocked, right? But listen, it ended up being the right decision, and I've never rooted harder for a Bama player than I rooted for Jalen Hurts after he went to Oklahoma. Right. I mean, he was a class act about that switch. He rooted Tua on, and then he took his talents and got his team to the playoff. They stood no chance against LSU, but let me tell you, there was a small part of me that was rooting for him because he's a good kid. You know, he got in his first NFL game this past week, and he's going to
starting.
And so he is NFL level talent.
Well, no, he had played some snaps before in other games, but that was actually a switch. That wasn't like, hey, just a couple.
He didn't even make it, like all of the times he came in prior to this game, and I don't want to get a super huge derailment on Jalen Hurts. He was like a decoy, or like it was a running play for the quarterback. He was like he didn't get meaningful quarterback snaps.
But my point is, again, look at Georgia's quarterback situation over the last few years. Just guys coming out, and I just really feel like when you look at our situation, the cupboard is bare past Bo. We have a C+ quarterback with a bunch of D- behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whoa. For what is supposed to be a top 15 program in college football, what in the actual hell, man? This is a lot of money. $7 million is a lot to pay for this, what we're seeing.
So you said top 10 in salary.
Mm-hmm. He's number 7. He's number 7.
Number 7.
Okay. So number 7 in salary, our average class of the Gus Malzahn administration.
Listen to this. Ike and I actually went over these stats. Our lowest ranked class since 2009 has been 12.
Mm-hmm.
12. I went to
last year, right?
Right. That's a lot of either mismanagement or misevaluation.
Absolutely.
Because that 2009 class was 23rd. That's the last time we had a class outside of the top 20.
Cameron asked a question about with the NCAA allowing players to return, who do we think comes back? On the offensive side, our major contributors who can leave, I think they leave. I think Seth Williams leaves.
Like if you're Schwartz, do you stay for him?
Seth should come back, but he's probably not going.
They all should come back, but they're leaving.
Yeah, I don't think anybody comes back, honestly.
Schwartz should go. I think Schwartz should go. And I think
he's got world-class speed.
Yeah. He's got other things he can do that aren't football. He can go, and he would still get picked up. I don't think
he'll run a 4.2 at the combine.
Yeah, you gonna get picked up. Like, you good, buddy. Just don't waste your time here. But Seth, he's got to show that he can have a better attitude. He's got to show that he's a willing blocker. He's got to show that he's gonna play consistently when he knows the ball isn't gonna come to him. He's not a complete receiver. He doesn't.
You know what? He needs to come back, but he is over this offense and over Bo. He's gone.
That's what I'm thinking. That blow up that they had on the sideline was a significant sign of where this team was going offensively. Right? Mm-hmm. I'd love to have Seth Williams on the show. I think he would enjoy our Bo Nix bashing fest every once in a while. I think he would have a lot to add to the conversation. Right?
A lot.
I mean, to Chris's point about guys coming back. I just think at this point you're making career decisions. Like, when you're making a decision about whether to go or whether to stay, it's really about, will I have a chance to improve my stock?
Right. It's about one of two things. Is my stock going to improve, or do we have a legitimate shot at a championship next season? Right.
Correct.
Does improve my stock wholesale, but like, even if I feel like we're not going to be a championship level team, like, do I still have something to prove to NFL scouts, right? And so I should come back for that reason.
Or will you have a chance to prove it?
Right.
Will you have a chance to prove it? If you're Seth Williams and Bo is your quarterback, you don't know if you're going to get that chance. And then if you pull him mid-season to put in
freshman in.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
A mostly running quarterback.
Yeah,
because if he's a freshman, if his strength is running right now and he's a true freshman, then he's not going to get the first team reps to develop.
Yeah.
Right. See, this is why I'm saying it's significant that the players like Jalen Hurts in their final years at a school, right, like get pulled for another guy, right, for the good of the team, because you know what, he cared about his draft stock, right, and he, fortunately he graduated and he was able to transfer and play immediately, right, but we're seeing Auburn players leave our program and still go on to the NFL, right, just on a roundabout path somewhere else. So I really believe that this is more about, if you're looking at this, they have to say the right things in front of the media now, but how much do you really believe in this system and what these coaches are doing, right? And then when you look at the guys who have gone on to the NFL, how much of it was actually coaching and how much of it was just you on your own,
just a freak athlete,
and your drive, right, and your own work ethic that got you there,
right?
Schwartz will run 4.2 at the combine. Somebody take him. Right, like I mean, he'll get there just on raw talent alone. I feel like that's how Coach got there. It was just raw, untapped talent.
Right.
Picked up by somebody, and he got a chance to prove it at the NFL level. Right. That's all these kids want. I don't know if you're getting that at Auburn right now. Right. So this game will show us a lot. Right. I don't think we're going to learn anything new about Auburn. Even if we run Mississippi State off the field, I don't think that it will say anything.
No matter.
Right. But if we lose it bad, right, if the wheels I said it.
You don't even have to be bad. He just got to lose.
You don't have to be bad.
You don't think it has to be bad?
That game, if he loses that game, right now, I think we're with the 29th ranked class or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not because the talent we have isn't highly rated. It is highly rated. We just don't have enough guys. We haven't been able to pull people and get those year ahead, 6 months ahead commits. Usually people commit right before they go into their senior season, but this year's been crazy. I actually saw an article by Tom Green. He covers Auburn for AL.com, and he was saying that part of what Gus said the holdup with recruiting was on-campus visits are usually where we win our guys.
Right.
We bring them in, you show them the facilities, and you get to show them around and do a lot of recruiting activity that happens on those trips. But that's where you win, because we aren't outpaying other schools for people. So you got to put on a show and say, hey, and the family, and here's how you support you and all those things. So if you can't do that, then what you're walking around with a video team to show people the facility. It's not the same thing as when you can get those guys on campus and do some things. And we can talk about that later in the year. And you do some things to get them excited about coming here. If you don't have that, then you're stuck with who the coach is, what the team's record is, what the track record of getting kids to the league is. And man, we ain't looking good, buddy. I see why we lagging behind. I see why the recruiting numbers are so low. We can't compete in those areas. Coaching to the next level,
right? Team
success, postseason success. We're losing all it, and we're not even putting more money on the table to do it. So if you're gonna come here, you have to be coming here because I know I'm gonna play and get my numbers, or I at least know my recruiting position is going to be developed. Like if a cornerback, that's why we're doing really well in cornerbacks right now. We just had somebody commit in the last week, I believe.
Oh, McGriff.
Because he turned a mediocre undersized wide receiver into a first round NFL pick.
Noah. Yeah.
I'm coming here. That the guy I think the guy who drafted him, they were showing some clips during the draft day, and when he called Noah, he was like, "Yeah, man, we're excited to have you." He's like, "I trust Crime Dog. If Crime Dog love you, I love you."
Yeah, he coached for the Saints too, as well too.
Yeah, he's had some NFL experience.
And I think we have like 5 or 6 DBs on starting rosters in the NFL right now, right? Like so. You're right. But then again, conversely at quarterback, right? Cameron's comment, hey, we're 42 in recruiting right now, right? We're projected to be top 15, and how do we not see this how does it not manifest itself on the field? Cameron, that's the
essential question
that boggles our mind every single week, how we are not able to translate recruiting, right, into a good on the field product that we're all proud of. Because I'll tell you what, man, in the SEC where it's hard to win every week and you've got other monsters just in our side of the division, it's like an NFL development league. The SEC West is, right? I would settle for seeing us compete.
It's not that much of a mystery, though.
Right?
It's not like much of a mystery to me. It's not as much of a mystery. Again, we've how many seasons have we swung and missed on O-line targets, right?
Right.
And then we have a stale offense in which we want to run the ball down teams' throats and then run play action off of and throw 30, 40 yards down the field.
Right.
Already based off of that concept, there are several skill position players who are not going to touch the ball, namely a tight end,
Right.
a possession receiver,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't give your quarterback a chance because he has to sit back and wait for guys to get down the field, right? We already talked about wide receivers and our pretty much our rudimentary passing tree or a route tree that we run at Auburn, which is non-existent. So you already got guys who are not developing in skill position areas, and you don't even have an O-line to even set you up to be able to do those long developing plays that Gus likes.
Right. I'll tell you what, when you look at these recruiting classes, it feels like over the last 10 or 12 years, last 20, Auburn is just one good quarterback away from being in championship contention.
Yeah.
Right. That's how well they've recruited. Think about it. When when Al Borges came and Cam had his best year, undefeated. Right. Cam Newton came through undefeated. Right. Nate Marshall came through just serviceable, but a dynamic athlete, an elite athlete at quarterback, national championship appearance. Right. Still, man, first year, we were one game away from making that playoff.
Right.
Right. So the talent is there. So I put it on the coaching. I really do. They've got to be able to put kids in the best position to succeed for themselves and for the team. It just does not happen consistently. I'll say it. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. Gus has only been consistent at being inconsistent, since he's been here. Right. And this on again, off again, if that's good enough for some fans, great. It just sucks to have to go to Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners with our Bama friends and, and just admit that we're just not as good, right?
Yeah.
Do we lose? Do y'all think we lose this Saturday?
Yes,
I think there's a chance.
This Saturday's game, let's get the official picks in for this Saturday's game. I am going to start this off with you, Mike, since you started to say something. What do you feel like is going to happen Saturday against Mississippi State?
Listen, this is one of the most winnable games that we have on our schedule, right? Mississippi State is not good. They've got a whole quarterback carousel going around. I wouldn't pull it off Mike Leach to pull out all the stops in this one.
Of course he will. It's the last game of the season.
Right,
They're not going to a bowl game.
Right. So he, winning this game will mean something for his squad morale, right? And the future of their program. I'm picking Auburn, but I'm picking Auburn begrudgingly in this one. We're at Mississippi State, so it's Bo on the road. That is automatically minus 10 points, right? Bo on the road is minus 10 points. After two straight beatings, that we've taken, I worry about the morale and the mental of this team. What kind of medal are we going to have going into this game, to essentially just not finish 500? That's what we're fighting for. I saw a lot of the bowl game projections were Citrus Bowl, which would be a good draw for this team. That's more than they deserve. I think I saw one, maybe ESPN is projecting us for the Armed Forces Bowl, right, on New Year's Eve. But to make a New Year's Day Bowl would be an incredible accomplishment for this team because I don't feel like they've earned it. So I'm picking Auburn. I'm not even going to give a score. I don't really think it matters. I don't think the score matters in this game. They just need to score more points than Mississippi State. It would be nice.
Do you think it's close? Is the question though? Like, forget how many points get scored.
I don't know. I'm going to say no only because I think we can lose it. I think there's a realistic chance that they can go out and lay an egg. That's how inconsistent this team has been, right? If you're sitting here and you're telling me what kind of product we're going to put on the field on Saturday, you are capping at the highest level. Right. Or, listen, maybe Miss Cleo knows if you got a crystal ball, if you can see the future, more power to you. I'm telling you, I have called some close ones for other schools this year. But Auburn is the hardest call because when we are predicting scores, right, for SEC games, usually it's very easy to do just based on what you see on the field. Teams are either consistently good or consistently bad. Right. And so you can make the call based on statistics. Like, who knows what we're going to put on the field? I think that's worse. I think I would rather just know we're bad than to know that we have the possibility to be good and we're just not realizing that potential.
Yeah, that is super frustrating. I have to agree.
Right. That's what makes this so hard. That's what makes it hard to come on here and talk about every week about how, we're just not playing up to the potential that we have. Right. And these coaches don't seem to know how to get it out of this group of players. So I say Auburn in a close one. But I'm stressing that it doesn't matter to me how we win this game. I don't think it's going to say anything about the future of the program unless we get run off the field. That's the only thing that's going to indicate anything about the future. If we get blown out somehow by one of the worst teams in the SEC on Saturday, we shouldn't. But I don't put anything past this coaching staff. They have to get these kids prepared, and this is not a meaningless game. No game is a meaningless game for Bo Nix. Let's be clear here. No game is meaningless for him because he is still so far behind where he should be at the end of his second season, right? And it's a scary prospect that we're going in to 2021 with a quarterback that clearly has not taken the next step. Right. And even if he has a great game, it's versus one of the worst teams in the SEC. That's not a barometer by which you use to gauge if he's getting better or not. Right. Like, and so I didn't get excited after LSU because of what Brian had to say about how bad their defense was. I was like, OK, right. And then he proved it against Bama. Right. He is not taking any steps forward. Right. You seem to think that, he just hasn't gotten any better. I disagree with you, not fervently, but I just think that I think that in the SEC, if you are not moving forward, you are taking steps back. That's what I believe.
I mean,
because everybody around you is getting better.
I'll talk about why I still feel that it's. I do concede that that's a good point, but I'll talk about Bo Nix in a minute.
I only say that because everybody around you is getting better. So while you're standing still, people are passing you.
Yeah, I don't. Again,
so you're getting worse. So you're getting worse, right? And that
his
is
ranking in the ranking of teams, he might be getting worse, but I don't necessarily agree with that statement. But I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree though.
Yeah, I just think, at the end of the day, this guy is not taking the steps. This coaching staff doesn't know how to get it out of him. It doesn't matter to me what kind of game he has on Saturday, right? Until we see it consistently, it just doesn't matter. Right. Until I see it 4 games in a row and against better competition and on the road. He didn't have to win some of these games on the road. He just needed to not go 30% passing. Right. Like, that's what I was looking for. Like, is he taking steps forward? Right. That's where I want to give Bo some leeway, and our offensive line hasn't been great. So, he has been running for his life some of these games. It's not lost on me. Our running game hasn't been there, so it's been a lot of pressure on him. But welcome to the SEC, man. This is big boy football. He should be able to handle that at this point in the season. So, Auburn in a close one. It could be any kind of game. I'm stressing. It could be high scoring. It could be low scoring. Who knows what the hell we're going to put on the field on Saturday?
All right, B. Will, talk to
us. Mississippi State is bad. And I want to disagree with Mike. I don't think that we are unpredictable and up and down every week. I think we are just extremely mid, and how good we look depends on how bad the team is over there. That's
I would agree with that statement.
That's really what changes is the other team is either going to be worse or mid or good, and that determines how Bo Nix looks, how the offense looks, and how our defenses look. So I actually think Mississippi State's a little better than they were when they hit rock bottom. I think they scored like 7 points over 3 games at one point in the season or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're better than that now. They scored 24 in Georgia. They scored 24 in Ole Miss in a rivalry game. I don't know what the score of their last game was. I have to go back and check and see. But
Mississippi State?
Yeah.
They scored, they lost, they scored 24, 24, 17, 0, 14, 2, 14, 34. Was
that in reverse?
Season. Yeah. They've broken once this season.
Okay. So that's who I don't know who they are. And again, this is not an excuse for anybody because we've all been playing with a stunted development schedule from the spring to now, as far as spring camp, fall camp, and cupcake games being not being able to take place. But everybody else has had that as well. It gave an advantage to people who had continuity. You had the same OC. You had a quarterback who had reps under that OC. You had the same defensive coordinator. You had talent who was mostly intact, who had reps under that same defensive coordinator. We lost a lot of talent between defensive line and Kenny Britt going down. That was our three best defensive players gone. That makes a difference. I didn't see us get that much better. And that's the scarier thing, is that this will be our 8th game without Britt, right? Is that correct? Or did he go down after the first game?
He went down second game.
Second game. Okay, so this is our 8th full game without Britt. We've got about 3 other linebackers on the roster, but none of them have been in his position. And nobody's had the opportunity to step up, and nobody stepped up in his spot. The same way we were bad in game 3, we are now still just as bad. That's discouraging. We have only looked good against a terrible team, and terrible teams. I don't know how terrible Mississippi State is. That's what scares me. Mike Leach, if teams take on the identity of their coach, Mike Leach absolutely can rally his team for a game like that. And that's what scares me about this game is they're bad, but we're not. We are not good enough to assume, yeah, we're good enough to beat that team. We're not right now, not with the talent we're missing, not with the injuries we have. So I want to say Mississippi State by a field goal.
Ooh.
Mississippi State by a field goal. I don't know what the score looks like. We don't score more than 24 points.
I am proud of you, B. I'm proud of you for making that pick.
All right. See what you got.
I see you. This game concerns me because I'm concerned about where this team is mentally. And we've seen what this team has done when they're under pressure. We've seen what this team does when they get behind, when they're against adversity. We've seen them crumble. We saw it on the road against South Carolina. We definitely have seen it in games when we were outmatched and we just never were able to rebound and bounce back once we get punched in the mouth. I am concerned about what this team looks like in the first quarter or two of this game. That concerns me with this team's mentality. And I hope that the morale isn't fragile at this point, given the disappointments that they've had.
Right.
A lot of the frustrations, I'm pretty sure these kids hear it. And I just don't know if they can get up for this game. And deal with getting hit in the mouth by Mississippi State, because to Brian's point, Mississippi State is going to throw everything at them. Mike Leach has no reason to be conservative in this game. So I'm just curious to see if this team can focus on trying to run the ball. That is one of the things that was encouraging to see against A&M was their ability to run the ball. Tank appeared to be healthier than we thought he was.
Yeah.
So to see them kind of go back to the game plan that they utilized when they were on the road against Ole Miss and at home against LSU. Mississippi State is known to have a good rush defense. So just to see how successful we are running the ball and getting back to taking the pressure off Bo will be key in this game. If we're not able to run the ball effectively, it's going to be a long night. But I think we're able to run the ball. I think we'll have some success. But it's going to be ugly. I don't see us pulling away from Mississippi State. B's right. I don't see us scoring no more than 24 points, but I don't think we have to. I got Auburn 23, Mississippi State 14.
Want to make a point to Caesar's prediction, right? Like they're going to throw the ball a lot in classic Mike Leach fashion, right?
Can I get my points in before you get point part two?
I just want to say, like, they're only averaging 23 rush yards a game, so they should be extremely one-dimensional.
You stepping on me. Don't step on me, brother.
My bad.
You done already had your soliloquy. Let me get in here and say my speech. I'm going to start with the fact that the thing that we've struggled with the most defensively is stopping the run. Mississippi State does not run the ball at all. Like,
No, I
they
don't.
have not rushed for more than 100 yards, I don't think, in a game this entire season. I don't think they care whether or not they do. The thing that our strength is, though, is our defensive backfield. I think we have enough of that talent in the back end to be able to keep this game manageable for us. And I think that we can actually run the ball against them, even though they've been pretty stingy against the run. I think that we can be balanced enough on offense to make it where we are going to control the clock against this team. I think we actually win this game by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go against what everybody is saying. I think we're going to win by at least 14
Okay.
in this game. Just because I don't think that Mississippi State can stop our offense. And again, where we've struggled most has been in stopping the run. And the games where we've been out of it, we've played desperation football offensively because we haven't had as many at bats. And Mississippi State's going to give us the opportunities to get back out there on the field. I think that we're going to win by 2 touchdowns in this game. All right, Mike. So if you want to come back and talk, Mike Leach,
Yeah, air raid, all that air raid offense stuff. I mean, I didn't have a ton to say. I just wanted to make the point that they should be one dimensional, and the one dimension that they're good at is actually our defensive strength. Right, to your point, right? Like, so I mean, that should play into our hands, but I don't trust Bo to give Mississippi State opportunities, right?
I mean, I think that's fair.
On short field.
The Bo Nix part of the equation is the most unpredictable portion.
Yeah, Bo on the road. Yeah. Bo on the road, right? Like, it means more opportunities for Mississippi State in in our territory, right? Like, on a short field, and that's where I think the score may be a little bit closer, because statistically speaking, we should win this game by 2 touchdowns very easily. Right.
I think we're only favored by like 6.5.
6.5, right? But they're allowing 28 points a game. We're averaging 24.
Yeah, like something like that.
Right. Like, so, I mean, the one lopsided stat is that rushing stat. Right. And they're going to throw the ball a lot. So they have a decided advantage passing, I think.
But like, statistically, they don't, though. Like, their averages passing isn't elapsing.
324 a game, 324 a game to 222 a game. It's 100 yards, the whole football field, possibly.
Right. Yeah. But
right,
I'm talking about, look at the volume in which they throw it, though, in that still, though. And a lot of that average came on a really huge start. Like,
they're big. Their short passing game, but that's what the air raid is, right? Their short passing game is their running game. That's why you don't see a ton of rush, right? Like, they'll throw the ball 4 yards and get down every time. That's a first down every 3 plays, right? If they can do that effectively. So, I'm more trying to see, like, what are we going to put out there on the field offensively in this game? I think defensively we'll play well enough to win it. But guys, this offseason, this is going to be a long offseason, right? And I'm seeing that we might possibly see Northwestern in a bowl game, right? A lot of people think we're going to be playing Northwestern. I haven't followed them much this year, so I don't know what kind of bowl game that's going to be. It seems like we played them a few times.
They started off good this season. I don't know how well they're playing right now, though.
Right, they've got us projected against Northwestern in the Citrus Bowl, right? So,
Northwestern runs the ball.
We played them.
It's going to be an L.
2009, I think we played them in a bowl game.
Yeah, we played them in the bowl game in Chiswick's first bowl.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that was actually that was an exciting game.
We went to overtime, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of points scored in that one. So, what was the quarterback we had? What was his name? He was extra mid, but he won some games.
Chris Todd.
Chris Todd. And so we this game is again, it was a blessing.
Northwestern, have they lost?
They lost a game.
Yeah, I think they only have lost one game. If they've lost, it's only been one.
They're 4-1. I think.
They lost yeah, you're right.
This game was a blessing for Gus to get at the end. He gets a chance to end the regular season on some feel goods, beating this team, and maybe just kind of.
Hey, listen, it might not be a blitz. Let's listen, man. I am voting with my heart here. All right. If we lose this game, we can actually be rid of this dude. Like, that's possible. It's not possible if he wins that game. You're like, oh, it was a short year and blah, blah, blah. We lost a lot. No, listen. If he loses to Mississippi State,
okay,
who we have significantly more talent than, have significantly more continuity, have we don't have any excuses not to beat Mississippi State.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the one that gets not only the fans upset like they have been for the last 2 years. That's the one that gets the admin like, hold on now, man. Mississippi State, and not even a okay Mississippi State like we lost to in 2018, where I think they won like 8-9 games and they had a really good defense. No, this is not that team.
This is year one of a completely new regime. You're supposed to tag them early on.
This will be unforgivable, and I hope it happens.
All right. Well, we will see what happens. We will be back at you guys in the pregame coming up.
Give me a War Eagle, Brian.
War Eagle.
I was gonna say, bro, we had to check your Auburn fandom there for a second.
Yeah. Listen, man, we should all want Gus gone if we're Auburn fans.
We want him gone. My thing is, I feel for those kids. I feel for those kids, man. I really want those kids, and I understand the best chance for those kids to develop and really reach their goals is perhaps a new coaching staff. I just, I feel you.
We have to have a whole conversation about who that person is going to be. That's going
right. You got to have a plan to replace them. You got to have a plan to replace them.
We definitely have time to debate that. But we'll talk a little bit more about this game. Keys to the game. Maybe some players we want to see have a standout performance. Make sure you are right back here with us, liking and subscribing on the YouTube. Even hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live, so you'll be ready for that. The War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We also have the Facebook page. You can look up there, the War Report. And on TikTok, we are TW Report, putting out that content for you. As always, it's a pleasure hollering at y'all on this Wednesday night, and we will holler at you on Saturday morning. Until then, War Eagle.